Welcome to Mind Shift Power Podcast, a show for teenagers and the adults who work with them, where we have raw and honest conversations. I'm your host, Fatima Bey, the Mind Shifter. And welcome. Today we have with us Tamika Carlton. She is from Georgia. She's the founder and CEO of Tamika Carlton, LLC. She is a relationship coach and communications expert. She has a lot of accolades. She's been on the Oprah Winfrey show multiple times. She's a speaker. She's been on several podcasts and in several magazines. But actually, we're not here to talk about her accolades. We are here to talk about her journey to them. So how are you doing today, Tamika?
I am doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really glad to be here, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So,
me too, for sure.
There are a lot more accolades that I could read about you that I didn't because it would take, too long. But you seem very accomplished. Do you consider yourself successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for sure, I do believe that I'm successful. I also feel like I have so much more to do. So it's like, although I'm grateful for all that I have accomplished and I try to celebrate those wins, I'm also like, I have a lot to do in the world. So I'm excited to see what else comes from my life.
I love that. You are accomplished. You're definitely accomplished because there's at the end we'll tell people where to go on your website and look at all the other accolades. But you've been on some pretty big stages and in some pretty big places, and yeah. I love to hear that you still don't feel like you've arrived. And I think that's an important point.
No, I feel like yeah. It's like as long as I'm alive, I don't think that I'll ever be done with whatever it is that I want to continue to do and just impact people. So I feel like, thank goodness that I have been blessed with these great opportunities. But at the end of the day, those were just small snippets in my life. And I want to continue to do and pursue more. So that's a little bit about what I've been thinking.
No, that's great. But that's also a part of what makes you great. And it's part of what keeps anyone in any kind of a leadership role or even a business leader. That's really what keeps us great is never believing that we've arrived. Yeah. And I love that you brought that up right away. So we want to talk about your journey. So you're an entrepreneur. So tell us, when did you become an entrepreneur?
I became an entrepreneur officially in 2018. That was when I felt like I was kind of fed up with having to work for other people and answer to other people. Oh, yeah. And also I felt like I wasn't able to offer, I would try to offer my opinions and input and provide feedback, but I didn't feel like I was being heard enough in all of the workplaces that I was in. And I was just like, it's time to do something different. And, 2018 we were actually living in Chicago at the time. And it was like, I need a change. I need something just more compelling in my life because I was kind of bored. You know how you just get stagnant and just bored with whatever you're doing. And that was where I was in 2018. So, yeah.
So you decided to get out of the what's the
rat race?
It's just it's the blah of working for someone else.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better word right now. So
it's the blah. It's the blah. And it's also like so many people have so many when you work for someone else, people have expectations of you. And, I just felt like my expectations were higher than what I thought, these people wanted me to do. But also I felt like I was giving too much energy to, create someone else's dream. I've heard of that saying before, you are basically living someone else's dream. Why don't you live your own when you work for someone else versus working for yourself? Right. So I was just like, it's time for me to embark on something for myself and something that I was really connected to versus just kind of going through the motions on a day-to-day basis.
Also, and I'm sure you can agree with this, very often in the workplace, you're expected to fit into their idea of what a position is supposed to be,
Yep.
instead of
Yep.
maximizing what your gifts actually are.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
that's
And I think
there's very few
no,
workplaces where that's not true.
I agree 1,000%. And I think a lot of times, like, people see things in you, like when you work for people, people see great things in you, or even if whomever you're around, but like, you know yourself the best. And I just felt like I wasn't being able to utilize, or I wasn't able to utilize all of my gifts and all of the things I really love to do. So entrepreneurship seemed like the better route for me at that time. And please believe, I really don't think, I think I thought I was ready to pursue entrepreneurship before then, but I don't really think I was prepared,
Yeah.
because entrepreneurship is not easy, but
No.
it
Hmm.
definitely is worth it when you do it right and when you do something that you love.
Absolutely. And as an entrepreneur myself, I get every single thing that you're saying. Um, and there are many
Right?
other entrepreneurs who will say the same thing. They got tired of working for somebody else and fitting into someone else's box. So you create your own.
Yes.
Um, Now,
Yes.
what made you get into this particular line of work that you're in?
I mean, another great question. Okay. So when 2018, well, I got with my husband, well, I was dating my husband in 2016, and we were in this predicament where it was like we were having this amazing relationship, and everyone thought, they looked at us and they were like, oh, you guys are like the relationship to follow. And everyone just had this idea that we were doing so fantastic, and we were, but like the reality was that we were really struggling through real life situations. And I
Hmm.
don't, at the time, like, no one was really like, people don't talk about the stress and the struggles in a relationship. People just talk about how
Oh yeah.
great they're living their best
Hmm.
lives, right? Or they like
Hmm.
put all these pictures on social media, and no one talks about how you get on each other's nerves, you know, and like
Hmm.
you're having real disagreements, especially when you're
Hmm.
getting into a fresh relationship to like merge two lives. And there were times where I would just be like, man, I wish I could talk to somebody, like, who outside of like a therapist, right? I was just like, I wish I could. I didn't really want to share with my friends because low key, sometimes your friends are a little bit of a hater, right? I didn't really want
Yep.
to share with my family
Hmm.
because I'm like, right? Because I'm like, the family may,
Judgment.
they think that they
Yeah.
know exactly, and they know a certain side of me. They don't know the relationship, Tamika, right?
Right.
So they're going to be on a whole different opinion. So I was like, why don't we create the space where people can share their experiences? And why don't I become a relationship coach? Right. And it just spawned into this whole whirlwind of, now we do couples retreats, and now we just create a space for transparency to occur so people can talk about the headaches of relationships and their struggles, and what they really want and need in a relationship. And it's been very rewarding to see how people can feel better about sharing and growing together as a couple versus being on the struggle bus by themselves.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you saw a need, and
Yep,
so you decided to figure out a way to fill it. And a lot of
pretty
entrepreneurs, a lot
much.
of businesses start that way, and a lot of entrepreneurship comes out that way. Sometimes people see a need and they're like, I don't
Yep.
know, I wish I could do something. You don't have to wish, you can do something. You can create something that doesn't
I
exist.
Yes,
Or, you know.
you don't have to wish. You don't have to wish, you can create it. And I think a lot of entrepreneurship things come out of, what do I need and what do I wish was out there for
Yes,
me,
yes, yes. Yeah.
and let me create that I wish was there for me to use. So
Yep.
yeah, I think it was, I didn't know what it was going to look like. You start off in the entrepreneurial space and you have an idea of what it's going to look like, and the universe just kind of pans out a different way with every action that you take, which is probably a lot better, because had I planned it myself, I probably would have been doing something that that shouldn't have been done the way that it could be done. I think that we basically went off of what we needed, and then we start getting more clients and customers, and we are doing things that they need and we need, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Tell us about what, because I want to make sure we talk about this, because sometimes people, this show is for teens, and I really want to encourage
Yes.
teenagers to become entrepreneurs, but I like to give them reality.
Yeah.
I don't want to give them sugar
Oh,
coated
yeah.
crap and tell them it's chocolate, because that's what
Hmm.
a lot of people do in society in general, but especially when it comes to teens.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
they just, and the teens know this, and they're just like, okay, they're tuning right out because you're just giving them frilly
Right.
fruit fluff and not reality.
Right.
Um, what Tell us about some of the struggles that you've had as an entrepreneur, because I know it hasn't been all roses and butterflies.
Look, how many struggles have I not had? Okay. Like,
Just tell us about
I
one,
mean,
because I want to make sure that they have realistic expectations for whatever they're gonna
sure.
deal with.
I think the main thing for me, and obviously making money in entrepreneurial in the at being an entrepreneur is hard. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not hard, but it's like you have to put in the work, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I think that more than anything, you don't realize how much time and energy you're going to put into a business until you have
Hmm.
to. So it's
Yeah, I
like
agree. I agree.
long nights, like especially at the beginning, it's a lot of, you have to sacrifice, you know, entertainment, you have to sacrifice friends, you have to sacrifice time that you normally spend doing other great fun things to create this business that you feel is going to be fruitful for you and your family or whomever. And I think that, for me, one of the biggest challenges with being an entrepreneur is burnout. Like I have been
Yeah.
burnt
Yeah.
out like
Oh yeah.
tired, okay?
Hmm.
Right? Like exhausted, and you don't have anybody else to pick up the slack a lot of times. So
Hmm.
it's like you have to do it all. And I think that there has to be a reason for you to want to continue to live that life. So it's very important as a person and as an entrepreneur to really want to do what you're doing. Because if you don't really want to do it and you don't really have a strong why or passion for it, it's going to be very easy for you to be like, hit the road, Jack, I'm over it. Like
For
very
real,
easy.
for
You know what I
real.
mean?
Yes, for real. You've got to get into something for the right reason. If you get into it for just money alone, you're gonna quit. Because
Exactly.
entrepreneurship, I don't care what
Exactly.
field you're talking about. I don't care
Nope.
what field you're talking about. You
Nope.
got to work before you see the money, and you
Yes.
got to have that passion there, because that's what'll drive you. And if you're only driven by money, go work for somebody. Don't do,
It's true.
just go work for somebody instead.
And the money isn't going to come easy, but it's like once it starts flowing, it's much better. But the money does not come easy. The money comes easy when you put in the work and when you are aligned with your passion and your why. That's what I like to say. Then the
Yep,
money will flow to you. But you have to there I talk to so many young people and I'm just like, I don't think there's a true understanding of how much work it takes to be successful, period. Like it does
that's why
not
we're
happen
having this
overnight,
conversation. Yep,
right?
right.
It does not have, you have to acquire skill sets. You have to be resourceful, like meaning Google and whatever, like talking to other entrepreneurs has to be your best time to how you spend your time.
Yeah,
It's just
for
you have to
real.
be willing to do more all the time. And it's worth it, but it's
Right.
tiring. Like for
Yeah,
real.
so it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and that's why
Hmm.
we're having this conversation. Exactly what you just said, and I do see that sometimes they want
Hmm.
quick results. Microwaves don't exist
Right.
in nature for a reason, and success does not fit in a
Hello.
microwave. You can't just get it heated up real quick,
Hello.
boom, done. It doesn't work like that. I don't care what
Hello.
field you're talking about. Even a basketball
No,
player has to do a lot of practicing, a lot of foul balls, a
for
lot of
years.
before they
Yes.
become successful. I don't care how talented they are; they still got to work at it. And like you said, it's
So,
rewarding.
yeah.
Now, how did you get from, you started in 2018, so how did you get from starting off as an entrepreneur to being showcased on big platforms like Oprah, for example? You've been in magazines and other platforms, but I'm saying Oprah because that's a
Yeah.
name everybody knows.
I know, right? I know. Yes, good old Oprah. I, this is very funny, actually. I have this conversation with my friends and closer friends and my husband all the time. I realized the reason I got on Oprah was because I reached out to the show several times with, like, I wrote in several times, and it was all my real feelings. Like, I wrote in about my father passing away and just the grief of that and my experience and how it changed my life for the better.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like it was this space of like venting for me because I used to love Oprah too. And I was like, I'm getting on the Oprah Winfrey show. I don't care what I got to
See, this
do.
is why I
Okay.
love you.
I'm
We think
I am gonna
alike.
make this happen. I'm like, I am going to make
This
this
is
happen.
happening.
Okay. And that's another thing. It's like dedication, dedication.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
takes work. And
Hmm.
I've learned, over the course of my life with becoming more successful, getting features on different shows and platforms and things. I could hire like a PR company, but guess when I get the best results and outcomes is when I reach out to people by myself.
Because you're
Like, I
real.
reach out to all of, yes. Isn't that
You're
crazy
real.
though?
That's one of the reasons you're
It's
on
like
my show
people
right now,
fight.
because you were real.
Hello,
No,
thank you.
really.
But
I
I'm
have
just
people. I
like,
have a lot of people apply to be on my show who I don't accept, who are experts, but they're
right,
not. They're not real like you.
right.
Like they don't. They're a little more fluffy.
Listen, and that's what's gotten me where I am. Like, it's me being me, like just being truthful, honest, weird sometimes me. It's like that's carried me. So I've been able to be myself and reach out to these different platforms and say, this is why I want to be there, not just for me,
Yeah.
but for the impact that I can make for your guests or for
Right.
your viewers
Right.
or whomever. Because I think that's another thing I've learned. It's not always about me. It's about how you can
Exactly.
impact and influence someone else with your gift, right? Or with your
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I am, and I'm grateful. And listen, it was my husband's always like, you better tell people. For a long time, I did not want to share that I was on the Oprah show. I was like, I just don't want to be that person. Like, I was just like, I don't want to be that person. And then it's like,
I
no, that's
understand
your
that.
that's who you are. That's your accomplishment. And it got me to where I am now. So yeah.
I understand that. With my bridal business, I when I first
Mm,
won some national awards for it, I didn't
mm.
really advertise. I didn't. I just didn't because again, like you, I'm like I
See,
don't want to be one of those people that's like, look at me.
I'm
But
not those people.
but
Yeah,
then
right.
through other through other people talking to me, came to realize that it's good to do that. It's an accolade that I worked my
Yes.
butt off for. So why shouldn't I be proud
Right.
of that? And help
Right.
people. And it does make
Right.
people pay attention. So yeah, it
Yes.
is okay to do that. It's different if you're just like, this defines me. I am now better than
Yeah.
you. When you act like that, that's when we're
Well,
like, yeah, shut
yeah.
up.
Shut up. You're being annoying. And I think
Yeah,
something,
exactly.
with you talking, right, super annoying. With you talking about your accomplishments too and your honors, it's like, why I think we're always thinking about sharing it, and we're like trying to brag, but like it really is going
Yeah.
to create like, oh, maybe people are going to take a look and be like, oh my gosh, if she can do it, then I can do it too. And I think
Yes,
that's
that's my
better.
biggest thing,
That's a
actually.
better way to look at it. Like it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, well, she doesn't even look like she would be on Oprah. She doesn't even, you know what I mean? People may be like, she doesn't even look like she would be on Oprah. She doesn't look like she would win this wonderful award for her gowns. Like, but
Mhm.
you put in the work, you put in the time, you put in the effort, and guess what? You can do this too. So
Yes,
it's
and that is a
important.
big message. Especially if you look at my social media, it's something I'm constantly saying. I'm like, anytime I get an award or anytime I get an accolade of whatever
Hmm.
kind it is,
Hmm.
and I post it, almost at least 90% of the time, there's some little message in there saying, if I can do this, you can too. Because trust me, I am
Oh,
not better than
see,
y'all. I am not better than y'all.
no, no,
Trust
not at
me.
all. Like, you just kind of put yourself out there and you put in more work and you get accolades.
Now I want to ask you this. You've already actually given some advice, but what other advice, if you give one more advice for teens that are considering entrepreneurship? And again, they're teens, so that which means they likely haven't run a business before. Um,
Yeah,
what advice would you
I
give them?
think I think it's important to like there's one thing that I feel is important, but it may be kind of confusing, but it's not. But I think that it's very important to be able to kind of see someone, like watch someone that could be potentially be like a mentor or an admirer, like you admire someone and you admire them because of their work ethic, what they've accomplished, who they are, how they move in the world, and just pick little pieces of like, what can I take on that is going to get me to the next level too? Because I think a lot of things I've learned so much from people that I've listened to, whether it be on podcasts or watching Oprah and paying attention to how they move in the world and how they got to where they are. And a lot of times you can not emulate, but just recognize that there's certain characteristics that you can pick up on that can help you get to the next level too. And always be willing to learn. You know, as long as everything that I do, I learn something new practically every day. And all the small things that I've learned every day have helped me with my entrepreneurial journey. So know that you will never be the smartest person in the room, or you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room. I love being around people that are smarter than me because I'm like, please
Oh
teach
my
me
God,
something.
yeah.
you know
For real,
you
for
know
real.
and it's like, yes, like you don't want to always have to teach other people. It's nice to be taught sometimes. So just be willing to learn, just be willing to learn or understand that you're always going to be growing, and that's the best thing that you can do as an entrepreneur. And you know, you can start entrepreneurship young. Like if
Yes.
you're willing and you want to put
16,
in the work, start. I wish I would have been
actually 13.
more apt. Right. I mean, I watch Shark Tank and stuff, and there's like young kids on Shark Tank creating businesses. And I'm like, if
Right,
only I had the mindset to do that, because that is amazing. So, like, put forth the effort and the energy and your belief and time, and something fruitful will come out of it. It may not be instant, but something fruitful will come
right.
out of it.
I want to add to that, and I'm talking to the teen audience right now. If you're a teenager,
Mm.
you're considering entrepreneurship, and you're like, I don't have any support, because that's real.
Mm,
That's reality for some out there.
that is. Yeah.
Find
Yeah.
find your support. I'm a big advocate for people
Yes.
seeking out what they need, and don't wait for it to fall in your lap.
Yes.
If as a teenager, if you're going to start a business, and you can literally become an entrepreneur at 13, but everybody you look at that
Yep.
starts some kind of business at 13 has help. So you are going to need help.
Yes.
The younger you are, or the more inexperienced you are,
Yes.
regardless of age, you're going to need help. Seek that help out.
Hmm.
As Tamika was saying earlier, look at someone who is where you
Yeah.
are. What are they doing?
Hmm.
Can you shadow them? Can you ask them to mentor you?
Hmm.
And if they can't mentor you,
Hmm.
stalk them. Find out what they're doing.
Yes, stalk them. Like be
Find out.
all on Instagram. Like, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Find out. I don't mean literally stalk them, y'all. So get what I'm saying.
Right.
Um,
Like, no, please, no.
please don't end up in
Let's
jail and say,
clarify.
"A human mind shifter told me." Don't do that. Um,
Right.
but for real, follow them and find out what they're doing. And if you can get close to them and get a little bit more information from them and spend a little time with them, do what
Hmm.
you can. But make sure
Hmm.
you have that support. Don't try to do it all by yourself, because that's a recipe for failure.
Hmm.
It really, really
It
is. We
is.
all need help. We all need help of different kinds, but some kind of help. Um, I
I
love
agree.
this. I love
A
this
thousand percent.
conversation. I love this conversation,
Me too.
and talking to you about entrepreneurship and the realities of it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing when we get into it. But you got to do that work first. But
Yeah.
oh my God, what you do? It's kind of like cooking a big, delicious meal. You don't want to cut up the onions and cut up the fruit and cook
Yes.
the meat and fry this and bake that and stir in this and measure that. But at the end,
Yes.
ooh, is it so good?
Yes. It's
It's kind of like
thebomb.com.
that.
Okay.
I haven't heard that in a while. All right, let me ask you this. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we know that okay, you have this business with all these accolades, but tell us a little bit more about your business itself.
Yeah, so Tamika Carlton LLC is where I do the majority of my relationship coaching, and that is both for like romantic relationships or like friendships, people that are going experiencing hectic, all kinds of romantic or platonic relationships. And then I also have couples experience, which is the inclusive relationship company that I mentioned earlier. And that with that company, we host luxury retreats. We have a subscription gift box that we do every quarter. And then we have relationship resources as well. So there's tons of opportunity. My main goal is to ensure that we all have quality relationships, whether
Yeah.
that's romantic or platonic relationships. So everything I do is surrounding that topic, and both businesses do that.
And I just want to add to what Tamika's saying. Y'all don't, I low key stalked her before I invited her on the show.
See,
That wasn't me
everybody might be
outside your
stalking
window, I
sometimes.
promise. But
Hey,
um,
girl.
popping up behind the bushes. Hi.
I
Um,
love it.
but I love, she really is good at what she does. So I'm not just saying that because she's on my show. If I thought she was mediocre, then I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying now, because I'm honest.
Well, thank you.
So she's really good. And I want to point out something that she said a minute ago. When we hear relationship coach, we typically only think about romantic relationships. But the fact of the matter
Mhm.
is, all of your other relationships are just as important and sometimes even more important. And
Very.
if we don't look at
Yes.
how we view relationships, how we handle
Whew.
our relationships of all kind, it can mess up or build your life. And so it's important to
Yes.
talk to her, someone like her, who can actually help you to navigate how you handle your relationships and how to have better ones, because your
Hmm.
relationships are the
Hmm.
key to your failure or success in most ways.
Yes. Yes. Preach. Okay. I didn't even have to say it. You said it for me.
Well, it's the truth, and I like that you
Yeah.
state that it's not just romantic relationships, because we have
Right.
to. It's a misnomer, it's a myth that we only need help with romantic relationships.
No.
No, some of
Yeah.
your friendships are messed up because of the fact that you don't understand what you're
Yes.
doing. You don't understand,
It's
what you're
true.
doing in terms of how
Family
your effects are.
relationships, everything.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes. I mean, everything
something
that
to look
we
at.
do is relationship based. I feel like everything that we do, whatever
Yeah.
whether we're a customer, whether we're an employee, whether we are a student, whether we're a teacher, I mean, everyone and every interaction and connection is relationship based. So I'm on a mission to make sure that we are all the best that we can be for ourselves and for all of our relationship types.
And we're, as human beings, we're built for relationships, whether we like it or not.
Yes,
We are
yes,
literally
yes,
built for relationships. It's why we need each other. And so if we don't understand that, we
yes,
are already disconnected from half of what we need in life. I never put it that way before,
yes,
but that's a good one.
yes. It's
All
true,
right. Well,
right? I
it's
mean,
been,
it is
yeah.
great.
So, real quick, how can people find you? What's your website?
Yes, couplesexperience.com or tamikacarlton.com. And then, of course, on Instagram, Tamika underscore Carlton JBP.
All right. Well, it's been awesome talking to you, on and off air. Y'all don't know, we had a whole big laugh fest before we even started this.
I think they
I
can
love
tell.
talking to this woman.
I
I
do too. It's
really
been
have.
great. Oh my gosh.
It really has been, and I'm really hoping we talk a lot more. So thank you again for
Oh, for
coming on the
sure.
show, and taking your time to talk to our teens. And thanks.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Can't wait to connect again.
And now for a mind shifting moment. If you are considering entrepreneurship, and I hope you are, I want you to take in the principles that you heard us talk about today, the principles that you heard Tamika talk about today. Entrepreneurship can be a beautiful, beautiful thing, but you need two major things: support and determination. And there's more support out there than people realize. The support is actually much easier to find than the upkeep with the determination. But this goes beyond entrepreneurship. Anything you really want to do, learn about it, get the support, be determined, and go for it. I don't care what your past was, your future can be better. Thank you for listening to Mindshift Power Podcast. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Mindshifter. If you have any comments, topic suggestions, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit fatimabay.com/podcast. Remember, there's power in shifting your thinking. Tune in for next week.